purpose of this video is to teach you how spelling and grammar works in Word. You'll notice here that this document has a few red squiggly lined. That indicates that these are spelling mistakes, and then a blue line indicates that there's a grammar mistake. You'll also, so usually when I do spell check, let's say I made a spelling error here. Okay. One way that you can do this is you can simply right-click the underlined offending thing and just click it from the list and say, oh, it's supposed to be street, right? That's one way. So as you're typing, if you just want to fix things, you can do that. But what's somewhat easier is you just type the whole letter and then you go back and you run the spell check. I recommend having the cursor at the top of the document. But if you don't, it will just start doing the spell check from wherever your cursor is and then ask if you want to continue at the top of the document. So it just sort of saves that step. So it's on the Review tab, and you go over here to Spelling and Grammar, and it opens up this spelling pane. And you see what it does is it shows Hope all is well in Disney. It should be this well, but it provides a few choices, and usually the top one is the correct one, but you have to read the context of it to figure out which one makes the most sense. So I pick well here, and you can see that it fixed it, and it moves to the next one. The purpose of this letter is to show, should be show, S-H-O-W, okay? And here's the grammar one. It says here, this line are going to wrap without me hitting enter, and it should be this line is going to wrap. So I'm going to pick the grammar fix here on this one. Now in your assignment for Grader, there is a grammar flag, and I mentioned it in the notes that you should not fix that grammar check. So be mindful of that because you will lose points if you do make that change. But read the assignment closely. It tells you exactly which grammar one it is. Okay, so you would click is here. Now notice this one here, Rainville, Arkansas. Well, assuming that this is an actual place, I actually made it up, so I have no idea. But the point is that there are some things that will be flagged that might be a correct spelling. For example, your last name could be one of those. Mine isn't flagged because I've actually added it to the dictionary, so that way it won't be flagged because I type my name often. So those are your choices. You could either add something to the dictionary, meaning, hey, add it so next time it comes up it won't be flagged, or you can choose to ignore it. You can choose to either ignore it once or ignore all references of it. The difference here is if you know you only have it once in the document, you would do ignore once. If you knew that you typed it many times or the potential that you typed it many times, you would pick ignore all, and that way it wouldn't flag it as misspelled. Okay. You obviously don't want to add to the dictionary something that is misspelled because then every document you open up from then on forward is going to not flag that word as misspelled. All right, so I'm going to just pick ignore once here for this one. So it shows here the spelling and grammar check is complete. Now, does anybody notice another mistake? I'll give you a second. See if you can find it. Okay, dear over here, Dear Mickey, should not be D-E-E-R. And the reason I did this is it should point out to you that the spell and grammar check, while it's great, this should not ever take the place of rereading to make sure that everything is correct. And I highly recommend that for Grader as well, to make sure that you typed it in exactly as they wanted it, because you will lose full points if you have even one little mistake in your paragraph. So I'm going to backspace that out and fix it, dear, as D-E-A-R. And the last thing I want to show you about spelling and grammar is over here on the File tab, if you go down to Options, okay, you'll see that there is a proofing category here. And there are lots of different options that you can change within your spelling and grammar. For example, you can have it ignore words in uppercase, meaning that if it was an acronym of some sort that it would ignore that, okay? You can even go over here to grammar and writing style, and there's additional settings that you can do. Now, one other thing, if for some reason you run the spell check and you missed something, and you ignored something or did something incorrectly, you can come back in here and pick recheck document. And what that will do is basically reset it. So anything that you say ignored would now not be ignored. You'd have to tell it to, either ignore it or add it or do whatever. So that's sort of a helpful thing to know in the spell checking world. Okay. I encourage you just to sort of play around in here and take a look at what the different options are. There's some autocorrect options as well. But I'm not going to read each of these to you. It just doesn't make sense. But you can customize your spell checker any way that you want. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that.